You ready, John? I'll call this meeting to order of the Stansbury Service Agency Board of Directors meeting on August 19th, 30 p.m. at number 1 Country Club Drive at Clubhouse. Have a roll call. Wayne, we'll start with you.
Wayne Neilson, present. John Wright, present.
Kyle Shields here.
Brett Palmer is here.
Brock Peterson here. Kasey here.
Thank you. Kasey, can we get you to lead the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone's like to have the sheriff department here, so we'll move on to public comments. There's no public here today. I felt like mentioned Stu Mandelka and our office guys are with us as well. Seeing that there's no public here, we'll move on from the public comment section and go to general managers and rates.
Can I ask you a question? I wasn't here last time. I just had a question about a couple of public comments. I do that now, or should we do that later?
Steve talking about those?
Yeah, I think we skipped review.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Review of public.
Let's do review of public comments. Yeah, I skipped over that. Yep, sorry. So Tim's gonna talk about that, and then you can ask any questions. Thanks for that.
Okay, so Marie Kimball asked about two things. One is the vegetation 136. He stated it's not currently an issue, but may become an issue. Operations is monitoring that, and the guys with the gardener guys will take care of trimming that as necessary. He also asked about the old tennis courts in Greenbelt Park. Currently, there are no plans to do any lifting with them unless the board decides to move on with doing something else. But right now, we have no plans to do. Refurbish, upgrade, replace, and anything. So that's the two comments.
So on the, and you may cover, I think you might cover this later when you go over the minutes, for last meeting. But I ran into this, not literally, but I think it's Paige and Rich Neilson, and anyway, they were here talking about the trail at the reserve. You guys know that?
From 2 weeks ago, or 2
Two
weeks ago.
meetings ago.
Yes.
So he's doing what last meeting reporting on.
I thought they were from the 15th. Am I correct?
They weren't here last meeting. Jim was reporting from the prior meeting.
Wrong date. Okay. So go ahead. I'll wait till. I was thinking it was August 5th.
Okay, so we're moving to SharePoint. Either deactivated all but one drop off account on the 15th. We were going to have to drop on the 25th anyway, so she just moved everybody over. We kept one active in case we had problems with transfer moving over, but the rest of them are all in SharePoint. We started to do some file reorganization within SharePoint. If you notice, if you go on and look at the board and committee section is no longer under admin, it's a standalone section, and it looks, for me, it looks a lot cleaner the way it's set up. So we'll start organizing files. Stansbury Days, a few comments from Stansbury Days. The traffic pattern seemed to look much better. We scheduled the car show and vendor access coming in well, and that worked pretty well. In spite of some rousing, I think I talked about the car show and vendor people after the things did, and they said it was fine. Golf course took advantage of our new parking lot, helped alleviate parking issues. They were actually shut. They were using golf course about $50. So, that worked well. Parade had 35 entries, and we did comment that we might need additional help down there, and John talked about bathrooms maybe down there. I guess it's going to that, bathrooms at the staging area. We did block the Causeway Road just before and remove the block just after the parade. That seemed to cut down on some of the traffic trying to go through the parade. There were some concerns that the food trucks ran out of food, were not available later in the evening. There was a dead space between the time vendors and car show pull out about 4, and really until just before the fireworks start. And so we tried to fill a little bit with bands, but there's still full, and that's when a lot of food trucks leave because there's not a lot of traffic. Those that stayed did pretty well later on in the night, so we got more to get around. And the biggest issue we had was the fireworks. There was a communication between the vendors, between the shooter and the office staff, and the fire marshal, and I don't know exactly where that disconnect came in, but the vendor came in and assumed responsibility for that. They said, look, we screwed that up. So they did offer some recompense for that. That's what the fireworks look like. You know, I've got some good shots of that going on. The vendor did accept full responsibility for the issue. Their public, this is their public statement to the Stansbury community. Our fireworks show on Saturday started 40 minutes earlier than scheduled. We know many of you missed it, and we're truly sorry for the disappointment. This was our error, and we take full responsibility. To make it right, we're offering a drone show at no cost to the community as our way of saying sorry. We're also working directly with organizers to address the financial aspects. We value our relationship with Stansbury and hope this helps people trust. Thank you for understanding. They did agree to forego the remainder of their payment. We paid them in 2 cycles. One is an upfront payment of half. The second payment, they have said no longer past that. We screwed it up. We'll accept that responsibility. They did offer the drone show, and they also suggested next year they have a barge. They suggested maybe we might want to look at anchoring the barge out in water, shooting from the barge. They can shoot different ordnance from there. So I'll have to decide if that's the way we want to go next year's season. On the operations side, I had to sort of clean up who's doing what to do. So basically, if you mow an area, you're going to be responsible for the irrigation. So the areas in yellow are now the full responsibility of the ordinance operations crew. Those are all the way around the golf course. In addition, we created a new cost code line. So any work done on those Greenbelts will be captured in a separate cost code. It'll be interesting to see how much that actually takes, because at some point in time, you might have to figure out, oh, we're spending, say, $500K a year just on those Greenbelts. Maybe if we got rid of them, we'd have $500K extra a year. After 4 years, you'd have enough to do. So there's costs in those.
So, can I ask you a question? Sorry.
Sure.
So, with taking the responsibility away from golf course operation out of Greenbelt, how is staffing getting addressed?
We're
Really, the workload on the golf course has been dropped.
Yeah, we had a plus up to them that they never used, so we're going to transfer those assets over to operations. Gordon's was already on that, so it's only the irrigation side.
Can I see your corner?
Sure.
Greener just passed.
One greener, you want?
That area right there has never been considered part of these. That's always been the worst.
Yep.
You're saying that's now.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's just that kind of the Greenbelt type of thing right there.
Yep.
So one of the things, I was made aware of for a while, is that, the heads that are in the golf course and or the Greenbelt, the golf course, whatever you call it. No, they're pretty pricey. General those heads are like, what, about $400 or $500 a head?
I think they, can 4 to 6, depending on the head.
And, so, you know, if we're transferring funds, I mean, I guess we're taking material costs and labor costs over to the right side.
Yep.
And then the other question I had, and perhaps you're going to address it later, somewhere in the minutes I read about we have valves that sometimes the shut-off is actually in the head itself, and that's making it more difficult for them to isolate subsequent areas. My question was, are those heads, new heads that we've chosen, we think there's a good idea that we like, we thought there was a good idea, but it's not, or is they old heads, and we got to, over time, change?
So those are the golf course heads. They operate under full-time pressure. So their actuator is in the head.
So we will continue to remain having those guys.
Yep. So it's going to require coordination between Gordon's crew and the golf course to shut down, and that's when they're doing their head replacement.
So, John, for some background, I asked for this. What I want to say is I appreciate Gordon coming to these meetings. He just walked in. I appreciate you being here. That helps. But every one of the inlets has been changed over years. Almost every one of these little inlets are not big rotary heads. Big rotary heads are down there. But these are more irrigation rainbow heads like you see in a common yard. Is that correct, Gordon? I think it's just those are the big monster heads, or they're just in really bad area?
Yes,
That section right there, we do have a golf course overheads. We do have a couple on the other side there, off to the left of the map. But most of the ones on the Greenbelt on frontage road, those are all either 5,000, 504s, a mix of.
So just so we're not taking huge golf course heads and all those yellow spots. A lot of them, the service agency had smaller heads in originally. So just for some.
Yeah, Gordon's crew was already doing frontage roads.
So there has been, what they've done is they put some isolation valves in the big ones, right? And so you can isolate some of them, but not all of them.
So on these right here, how many sprinklers are gonna do that in there?
Well, these Gordon's crews already been working. That's already on his plate.
So most of them are,
Most of them, there's a couple of green belts I noticed on down at this end that they haven't quite fixed it. Most of these up on from where we come out from the elementary school and go north, most all of those are fixed, with one exception. Okay?
So by taking this away, now, can we then quantify the acreage or the grass square feet of the golf course and now the Greenbelt? What they maintain?
Yes. The 3 golf course areas that came into question were these 3. These is Brett's house is across here. This is down towards the west end of the golf course. Greenbelt 2 is already on standard road heads, and so that one we just had to turn it on and watch it. Now those, I don't know about coverage in there. It looks like there's some spots where we're not getting full coverage, so we might have to adjust the heads that are in there. This one is mostly golf course heads, and this one is golf course heads. What we saw down in this area was part of them working, part of them not. And these, none of them were working because they hadn't been working for a while, because that's what it looked like. That's about a foot under the soil. Brett actually dug this one out. So none of those were working. So we've replaced, I think between we shut down last week and we shut down this week, I think we've replaced 17 or so heads in that area, just in the last couple of weeks. One of the issues we have is we need to put some partial rotors in, and we're out of those, and they don't have any in stock, so we sort of cap some of those until we get the correct rotors in there. This is another one that's interesting. This is along the road from Frontage Road to the clubhouse. There's a little Greenbelt in here. There's a basketball court. We dug this one up. This was before last meeting, and found that there's valve box in there, but there were no sprinklers attached to that valve box. It was just a valve box. So we just dug a pit and we're starting to put sprinklers in that area so we can get water on that particular Greenbelt. This was another one that just happened this week on Saturday or Sunday or so. Spid got a call because this guy had a leak in his yard. Spid went over and shut all their stuff off and equipment is still leaking. So they called our guys, so we went and looked. The tap flow is right somewhere up here on that line. The line goes down here, takes a jog, goes to this guy's yard, and comes across the road. I don't know exactly how it is over here, but I'm assuming it's right. So in order for us to fix that, we have to dig up this guy's yard. I probably would have fixed that, but I didn't want to dig through the road when that across there. How they got that way, I'm assuming it was put in before they sold the lot and whatever. So we dug up this guy's yard and fixed that particular problem there. We're finding that kind of stuff all the way. We have for 3 or 4 years, finding that stuff all the way.
So I can tell you how that happened. When they developed
This was, yeah.
they were actually they were getting the water from the homeowners, like they did the lake. And we came back and said, no, but that's not the wife's job. Almost the whole way down around the ditch, they're gonna have that weird job because they're going to water from the homeowners like they did on the lake and that kind of wash. So most of Rabbit Ditch will be
That way.
that way as you hit the streets, they're gonna jog up to the houses.
So sometime in the future, if we get time and money, you might want to fix that, because I don't relish digging up guys' yards to fix ours, so. Other actions, light mower, we converted it from cutting weeds to a light collecting cooking in the coves. That seems to be our biggest issue right now. So for about the last week and a half, they've been pulling out crap that's drifted into the coves. We've been doing continued resodding around the clubhouse, we've seen areas we Gordon's working on removing the pier structure off by hole 3. We're looking at fencing in the clubhouse area, and I'll talk about that. The last thing, this just came in today, I got a guy looking for water shares. Or needs to start thinking about when we want to sell more shares and what's the process. Because we're getting continued requests for water shares. They've sold more acreage and lots that they're subdividing, and there is not water shares available. So you probably need to start thinking about that.
Can I ask you a question on the, go ahead, John.
So, that pier structure on the bottom by hole 3, that's the one that crosses south of the hole.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
thought I read something about that, we were concerned about people going out there and fishing off of that.
Yeah.
Good deal.
It's not really designed for public use, it was designed for access. We talked about that at the last meeting. So if we wanted to remove that.
So there's, just for my clarification, are we talking about the rear structure inside of the manhole at hole 3 green, or are we talking about the concrete structure east of T-box number 4?
East of T-box.
Okay.
So if we take down the so-called pier structure there, east of hole 4, then that makes it difficult for our guys to go in there and monitor the height of the water. And
Yeah,
stuff.
we'll have to get out there at times, so we would just take it out of standard use, we just put it out there when we need it. So it wouldn't be permanently fixed like this.
You mentioned water shares. When are you gonna share the information, like who, how the water is used, what development, how many we have left?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, we need to quantify how we're going to do that. The individual that called was from development on Baker's Canyon Road. And he wasn't clear on which side. I told him, we're going in a meeting tonight, I'll just see if there's any appetite for us to look at that. The standard caveat is if we sell water shares, they need to be in our tax.
So that's what I've heard, but that's not what's happening, right? So is that?
We haven't sold water shares to anybody outside of our tax. And that's a stipulation for our water shares.
Yeah, so, is that almost Butler County, or is that Stansbury, or just?
No, they have to be within the Stansbury tax.
Stansbury.
Service Agency.
That's the only body we can sell to.
This,
Somebody would show yourself.
One have to know what that is.
I agree.
Jake Clegg is selling his property, and the developer that wants to purchase it needs water rights.
So that would be behind us.
So, in communication with him, his property is currently not outside the service agency boundaries, and he knows that that's a requirement, for SCRIP to serve that property, that he would need to annex into the service agency boundaries. And that's what this water right would be for, if the board wanted to make some additional water available for sale.
So that little, that corner piece of property that was Jake's, and the vacant chunk, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, there'd be maybe 4 or 5 lot subdivision there, plus his house.
Well,
So it's no longer desirable to the school district, they have to have this person per se, right?
Yeah, no, Jake, he needs to sell the property now, he didn't want to wait for a year for that speculation to take place.
Yeah, I feel the school district would like it, but it's just the timing, just, if at all.
so unless that property becomes, my opinion is, that unless that property becomes part of Stansbury, we will sell any water to, I like Jake, or, he's a friend, but we need to keep our water inside our house.
I think that's what we all,
That's what we all-
that's part of our stipulations, they have to be in tax area 7, because not only do they get water shares, but they come into tax area 7, and then get the impact fees as well.
And they're going to use our minutes.
And they're using our money, so. Has to be in Stansbury, I think that's what we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
They have to annex into us before we talk about sharing water, or selling water shares to them.
I would agree, yeah. Later on in the, perhaps I should wait till we get there, but later on we talk about trading some water shares for the asphalt trail. And I'll wait till then because I obviously missed last night, but the price that we're selling has changed, so I'm trying to understand how that, I understand.
The other thing we talked about was fencing the area, particularly up here. If we're going to rejuvenate this area, you've got to do something to block the traffic. So we have potential for putting fencing along here, down here. I don't know if I like this side, but maybe across the front area if we want to eventually do that. So we've hunted around to see what's possible. This is.
I'm talking about this being there forever, Jim.
Yep, permanent fencing. This is what's up at Fair Lake West. I showed that last time. This is another possibility, chain and bollard. This is a metal fencing with a wooden post, and this is some different type of fencing. This is 3-rail fencing. So we got the pricing on what it would take to put those types of fencing in. For the 3-rail steel railings, that's $32 a foot. So just to do that whole section of the parking lot that's directly on the north section, that 70-foot section would be $2,200 for the north area. If we look at the steel and ball chain, the chain that the steel steel dollars, just over 2,000. The 3-rail ranch fence would be 1,600. 2-rail fencing about $380, and the boulders are 4,200, which is what the previous boards have wanted to do with boulders.
On the one with the chain, with the gaps, does it look like that, or is it big, long gaps, or?
8 feet.
Between all posts or bollards.
I've seen those places. I like the 2-rail fence, but, so there's some fencing to consider when we get to the point where we want to cut that off permanently. The idea is you want to change the traffic pattern so that they're not using that stretch anymore. And that's why I sort of like using this side too. It doesn't need to go all the way to there, but just to that would force people to at least move around the other way.
So that pricing you got, is that somebody installing it?
That's installed.
Okay, so my next question would be, based on where all those lines are, there's a lot of sprinklers in there. That's part of that, they fix it too, right?
Well, ideally, not with.
The idea is to try to avoid that as much.
I understand, I'm asking
So
for that.
maybe we should put a contingency in there for a couple, $500 or $600.
I was curious, some places will break your sprinklers and I fix them, some, now if I drill it, I break it, it's not a problem.
So they're all 5,000 up there, so it's pretty easy to move.
Can you, go back one picture? Down there where you have the 70-foot number,
So that's this north end of the parking lot. So that's preventing people from going this way, which is where I see a lot of traffic. This one I think you almost have to use too, because you can see they're curving down and catching the ramp.
yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I have, my question is, where the 70 feet number stops on the last bar on the right there, that space that goes from there to the edge of the pond, see right there? Right. I'm asking, I don't know. I would anticipate that the individuals would come over the bridge and come into there on that corner. Do you see that that's am I wrong?
They
Could we put rocks there and fence the rest or
I mean, we could run the fence all the way down if we wanted to.
well, maybe that's all we'll walk to, I'm just asking.
But I just did this here is trying to, we force them to come down here. This is on the back side of the hill, so the only way to see it is on that side of the thing. So I was just trying to alleviate this stretch right in through here.
So, I know you don't need to picture that shoulders, but, from where the 67 is, it comes down there, and we have the, wakeboards, they're right there. Walk that sidewalk back towards the fellow that owns the house over there. It's been my observation that people come down, individuals come down from the Delgado side of there, come there to the roundabout there, and then they cut across, kind of like where the 160 mile marker is, and that.
That's why it's important.
So how am I going to stop it? Do you think by having it here, where you're showing
Yeah,
it,
well, it's
that's going to stop them
if
from
this
going
is
out?
blocked and that's, and then this way they can't get through the back. So it's more likely to drive them to use the existing sidewalk.
Okay.
I like the chain and the also stuff.
All this and change.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a little more easy to remove if we have to for an event or something.
It's gotta be, they're gonna beat on it, and then, just whatever goes, they can't destroy it.
Just need to make sure that they're secured in the ground really well, so when they jump on, they don't loosen up, so. This way they don't.
This is the current irrigation pond. We've expended all the sulfur we have on hand. This is the current condition of that pond after 2 to 3 weeks of treatment. We're arranging for Broad Fork to come in and hit that with their, treatment. So I captured this as sort of a beginning state, and I want to see what it looks like after they do the treatment that we arranged for them to do this year.
Oh, they already did that treatment.
No, they haven't.
They haven't. Oh.
We have much sulfur, and I want to burn the sulfur, because I want the sulfur still sitting around. So we talked about whether to treat it first or have do the sulfur burn. So we went into the sulfur burn to see what that looks like.
What's the improvement from where it started? Obviously, this is the sulfur burn.
Yeah, Matt said he hasn't seen much. I don't see as much in the milk pondweed that we were seeing down there. But, you know, we cleaned that out pretty good before, so. We want to, there's still some in there, so we want to see what it looks like. I mean, you can see it down here. Okay. Projects. So, for capital maintenance projects, we're moving along pretty well. We did get a significant cost. There was a leak up here in this room. We did get that fixed fairly cheaply. This cost right here, there's a leak runs under where we have the HVAC systems up there. This is the cost just to repair the decking underneath those HVAC systems. It does not include pulling the HVAC systems off, which is another cost, right? So that's going to be significant. We did get a cost to repair this outdoor structure out here by the clubhouse where the doors were knocked off, and substantially build that and rebuild it. That's one that's coming in. We're looking at a couple other things to fix as we go along. The front fountain repair, I submitted a claim to both Rocky Mountain Power and to UDOT, because I'm not sure who caused that. So we'll see which one of those comes back and says they want to cover that cost.
I thought the last time I recall us talking about the pumps being in there being, you didn't have the right size power going to.
So one of the things that Zimmerman discovered when they were doing that is it looked like the pump size, VFD on the south side was undersized for the pump. I asked him to check both of those and make sure that we ended up the right size. VFDs for the right size pumps. That shall be fixed once we get that done.
So what is the repair that has to be done? We have to replace the pump?
We have to replace one pump and one VFD. We've already replaced all of the breakers.
So it's the wiring to the VFD and the pump?
Yes. So what we did, we had Zimmerman come out and they brought their own VFD controller to check to see if both pumps work and the VFDs work and all that kind of stuff. So we identified one pump and one VFD.
So what do we think? Rocky Mountains, if they're in agreement to fix it, what do we think they're going to do?
Well, we hope they would reimburse us for the repairs. You got a form to fill out, so what it costs us for everyone. Okay.
Are the rest of the lights in the pool fixable, or?
They are if you want to cut under the concrete.
How much? Cutting?
They have, both of those northern end lights on this side, you would have to cut the concrete, because when they install them in lightweight aluminum that collapse over the years. So you can't pull wires out of them. You have to cut the concrete.
Does that make a path to cut concrete?
So we're going to conduit, or are we still aluminum wire?
Conduit, which collapsed. If it was PVC, which they're using now, then
And you would have had a chance.
Jim, can I ask a question on the power issue? Did Rocky Mountain Power do something that caused the failures on the VFDs?
We don't know where that surge came from. We don't know if it came from wires being cross-connected with, UDOT was working on the frontage road because we had to restore that power strip, or if it was some other, surge that came from Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, they're not gonna cover it. Trust me.
Well, my initial thought was to go to UDOT, but it was suggested to go to Rocky Mountain. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how.
It doesn't matter which one.
yeah, I'm sure it'll be, well, he did it,
Yeah. Well, you have no proof, so.
Yeah.
On the golf course remodel, I see that you have an expense in here, is that started?
I have.
The remodel golf course bathroom, 17,
Yes, that's that.
that's done?
He said that last time,
Was
on the text.
it didn't come through my phone.
Okay, but anyway, yes, that's done, and, I sent all the look at it, make sure they're happy with it, so if anybody has a complaint, the golf course crew with the Gordon's crew, or all
Yeah, I get that.
Did we,
that. You must cut me out.
go back one more, please?
Okay,
Item 16, priority 16, the BFD on Orwell, was reported in the minutes that indicated that probably this week we were going to start replacing that BFD.
that's done.
That's done.
Both the EFD and the flow controller replaced on.
So Brett, you saw that and install that, you're okay with it?
I just saw nothing there, I haven't been doing anything. I don't know what they've done.
So a lot of this stuff, we will, like the EFD, we will submit to Mod Smart, see if we do rebate. We've got some rebates on other stuff that we've done. We got about a $1,500 rebate on the HVAC we did over on the shops. Ron's pretty good at repeatedly applying. Anything else on capital maintenance? Capital project side, two big issues here. The bridge, and I'll talk about that in more detail. The other driving force is the four-way ball field. This grant, $30,000 grant we got that runs out in November, so we have to get cracking on fixing that. So that's probably the next one on the plate. The Mill Pond Bridge, you're out there with the MEI today. They drilled under the pond, under the mill pond, and the guys came out from the wire to it, they can't find the pipe. We think it's under the patio out in front of Spit. So they're gonna probably come in and re-drill that hole so they can get wires through under the pond. Greenbelt has provided us a scope work to complete the engineering plan set. We also told them that we'd like to get an engineer's cost estimate, a good one. We're also looking at other sources to see what their thoughts are on cost of the bridge, cost to complete the plan set, and all that. So once we've got a little standoff because they're going to have to go back and work on the Rocky Mountain Power Move. So we need to get that in place. I do not think we will be able to execute that this year. I think we need plans in place and maybe a contractor identified. The work will probably have to be in the spring next year. So we probably the bulk of that money. Fire suppression is over in the pro shop, and Sean indicates that they might need to coordinate with SPID. They're upgrading adding the backhoes and doing some stuff over there, so we need to coordinate with SPID and do some checks on that system before they move forward with the rest of it. Downwall Trail. We have petitioned UDOT to review both the funding and the schedule. That will happen in their September period. Also been coordinating with Tooele County. Their question was, well, why is either you or Tooele County paying for that trail? It's a UDOT trail. And that was a good question. So They've gone back to UDOT and asked why they aren't funding the whole project. They're traveling, they're getting about $50 million a year to do trail projects, and that trail happens to be on the UDOT trail project list. So they've gone back and asked for us, can you guys fund this? Since it really came through to Old County, so we're seeing what they can do with that. Mill Pond Park, I think we're about done with that plan set. So we get ready for the submission. When I finally get all this together, we'll hold a meeting and look at that and make sure we have all the questions answered on that plan set. We did send out a revised blue line downspout plan for Oscarson Park. I don't know if anybody's seen that or reviewed it. We also need to review that and decide where we want to go with that. Finances. So this is where we are in finances for as of the end of July. This looks extremely high. Either one of you remind me if there's a number of a pot of money in here that needs to be moved back into 25, but the auditors have not moved that back yet, so this looks artificially high. They're still going to finish significantly ahead of revenue, as is the golf course. Behind is the pool, is Park and Recs, because we lost some of the, they don't have a lot of funding, most of theirs comes from sports teams rentals. Football's told us they're not going to be in this fall, so that cost us some revenue there, not a major effect, and pool did not meet their goals, but they are closer than I thought they might be given back as revenue.
Could you say that one more time about football?
Football is not using our fields this year.
Really? We don't play in the street?
They're playing.
That's a junior high school.
Junior high.
Good luck.
Soccer tried that for season 2. Either way, it's fine. So football is pretty hard to do.
So on the pool, Jim, do you have a thought as to why we have the variation from the budgeted for, or is it just that people think this is?
I think that's a lot of
of
impact, and I'll talk about that in more detail. So there's our general revenue line. It looks pretty consistent, but we're continuing to grow the general revenue. This is the general government line, and showing that we're at 192K over our projection right now. Looks like we'll end up only about 125K over, so there's a significant drop there, primarily because of reclassification of funds. And golf course revenue is continuing to drive better than they were projected. This is the pool revenue, so you can see this as of the 15th of August, it's fairly current. Most of the revenue is probably in on the pool at this point in time. We did well on the teams. Concessions was a little low. I think there's a pricing issue here, so we'll work on that next year. Party rental was a little low, but not too bad. It's probably pretty consistent with what we're seeing. The daily admission non-resident was down significantly, as was the overall revenue in most cases. The only thing that picked up was punch cards. It's interesting because that was one of the lower segments back in June. And come July, we started to see a lot more punch card purchases.
Did we have wasn't there like a lead time in June or something, or was the weather back more than?
One week, we missed 1 week. And that week was a week that was scheduled for training anyway. So we wouldn't have had the pool open. What it affected was lessons. Because we lost one session of lessons because we didn't have enough time to fit them all in. But the lessons were covered nicely. They're over that protection. So we probably would have done better, although we did notice the last lesson session was pretty low compared to the others. But I think what we were seeing is, and I got a lot of feedback that people went out to Deseret Peak and they said, yeah, it's really nice, but they like the community ambiance. we saw a lot of that track back. It looked like we saw a lot of that track back, and that's when we saw the increase in punch cards. So that would be my analysis, that we'll probably see a slight increase next year. I think we'll still see less revenue from non-resident admissions because our non-resident admissions are slightly higher. That's what peaks.
This year we did not open the school on Sundays. I'm not, I don't care one way or the other, I'm just asking. Do we have a lot of parties on Sundays?
We were open for parties. So party restaurants are open every day. The only thing we didn't open to Sunday was general admission. The reason we didn't do that, we didn't open it, was because in past years we did an analysis, and Sunday for the lifeguards on Sunday.
And I'm fine with that decision, I'm just curious. That's fine.
I only heard one question about opening on Sunday.
Sorry, what happened in 2023?
2023 we were down for 3 weeks because we had a boiler issue when we replaced the boilers. So we missed a lot of the revenue up front in here. We lost a lot of the lesson time. The other thing to remember is we didn't have swim teams going on back then. And these 2 years are artificially high because Desert Peak Desert Peak was not open. So we were picking up maybe 10 to 20% extra because of Desert Peak. So I think this is more standard what you're going to see out here. Total expenses, everybody's running under their expense lines, which is good in some ways, bad because it means we did get the numbers and skill set of people we were looking for this year, particularly on parks and not so much golf, but pretty much on parks. School did better than we thought on costs, but they are still going to be collecting costs, even though the revenue will mostly be done because we'll have closeout and we've got some after season repairs to do. So we may become closer to the projected budget for them for expenses. Cost curve for the golf course, their expense line is running under the budget projections, partially because we didn't hire everybody they were looking for, and partly because in the pro shop, we had 2 less people than we projected growing benefits.
Does that work out? I mean, if they had,
They
or rather, started to sit here and said, well, we thought we needed 2 more people, now we want ready to put 2 less. Is that still efficient, or we still?
yeah, one of the problems was we lost our second alt assistant. So we just hired a replacement. He's been working without benefits so far. We're looking at giving him benefits in a full-time status next year.
Does he have the potential to become prorated as well?
Yes. This is just a little expense versus revenue line. Golf course, now that we have some data in. Right now, this is revenue side, our head of revenue. We've got $800K of revenue and only $800 of expenses. But what's going to happen somewhere down the end of the year, this revenue line will tail off and the expense line will continue to drive forward. We will end up, this was 1.7, and this was projected to be just over $1 million. We'll end up with more revenue and less expenses than we projected in the original budget. So that's going to drop closer. I think this revenue line might even creep up higher. This is parks. This is the current projection based on if we see standard costs throughout the rest of the year. I don't think we'll follow this line. I think we're more likely to follow this trend line. But there are some end-of-the-year purchases like restocking of irrigation equipment that will drive this up. I don't think we'll be here, but it'll come in somewhere. That's it.
Thanks, Jim. Let's see, next order of business is discussion of the GM job description qualification hiring process.
You take that down.
So, I apologize for missing the last minutes, last week. I have seen, documentation that I believe everybody has received with the packet that talks about the, job responsibility of those sectors like the blue and white. And, it's got some good bullet points on there and, qualifications and things of that nature. When we were working on developing the policy for the hiring of the general manager, we spent many days, weeks going over that, went through the, I think everybody has access to the comment sheet. Jim was the chairman over that particular item, and Cassandra. And you could see a number of the questions went back and forth, and there was a lot of strong debate as to what was going to get us the best person for a new general manager. And what you were seeing, my opinion, what you were seeing there on the sheet, this blue and white, are the summary of the items that are in the comment sheet. And I think that it points forward to, I think those are the way things we have to be doing. Along those lines, there are some steps that, you got some steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there's 5, 6, something like that. Items that are listed, and those items right there coincide pretty closely with all of the items that we talked about in developing the policy, so that we would find the very best qualified candidate for a new general manager. If you look down through those items, you've already, in my opinion, you've already accomplished, this last time you met, you've already done 1, 2, and under 3, I think you've already got down to either 4 or 5, 4, I guess. And
So John,
those are the requirements, I'm sorry, I'm misreading. If you go over to the next one, under roles and responsibilities, I'm sorry. If you go over to those first 4 or 5 items that are listed there, you've already gotten down through item 4. And you have prepared with this document here, you have prepared a method to be able to go out to the public and ask for applicants. I think there are a couple of items that you may want to discuss on the roles and responsibilities, and if you go down, goes over to step 5, is that if you go over to 5, if you want to skip over it, the chair of the service agency, you.
I can say none of us have that document.
It's on the back right here.
Oh,
Oh, I thought you said that.
That's what I had to search for it.
I didn't actually
Do this.
do you guys not see this? Looks kind of starts like this.
yeah.
It's in my hat.
I guess we say Jim had that one, but I'm not sure he's all along with Jim John.
So this is what I briefed last time, and basically we sort of combined a lot of these steps, so we're basically at 7, which is facilitation of how we're going to move forward. One thing we really sort of skipped, but I think John was trying to point out in 5, that we really didn't discuss a lot about the staffing costs, schedule proposal, and that kind of stuff. So I figured we would pick that up in the discussion today, so.
That's fine.
So we're really at step 7. If the board approves the hiring process and job posting, then the next step will be for the clerk to post it and collect the applications. So that's sort of where we are. And then the next step is to decide how you're going to handle those applications that come in.
Well, and of course,
So
the applications were supposed to come in, we were going to have them come in to the clerk, and she would make sure that all the applications met the qualifications that were under, and if they didn't meet those qualifications, they'd be set aside. We would start to deal with those that did meet the qualifications and start going through the interview process and the other steps that are listed there. I think it's really important, guys, that you guys talk. I'm probably preaching to the choir. You know, previous to this administration being in place, previous 3 general managers did not do a really good job. And you can throw rocks at me all day long, or whatever, I don't care. But I want you to understand, this is not like operating a PTA building cell. And that's the way they were doing it. And we don't have a lot of policies in place. We've got to maintain the right kind of individual here. This is not. This is an important business. We are operating and overseeing nearly $6 million of a business now. For some of us, that's a small business. For some of us, it's a big business. But we have to make sure that the people that we accept applications from, that we get that kind of guy, person. And they need to be well qualified, and that's some of the things that are listed right there on the qualifications. Some of you may or may not be aware, wasn't too long ago, we took a $1.3 million hit because somebody wasn't paying attention, taking care of business. And it was money out of our pocket, right out of our pocket. You can say all you want, well, you got the money back from the insurance, and so on. But at the same time, had it not been caught, it wasn't the general manager who caught it, put it that way. So I would hope that you would look at this extremely seriously, that it spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we were going to maintain high quality operation and with high quality people. I hope that that's, we need to do that because that's our business is growing. You can see all the financial information that is now provided that wasn't provided 3 years ago, and it's making us a better operation. A lot of people depend on what the hell we do here. We meet twice a month, and I think we work pretty hard to make sure that everything works right. The guidelines that the policy is going to put forward is to try to help us stay there, find the right people, move forward in that regard. So anyway, if you don't have access to this, it just came in my path. I thought that.
So,
but those are good ideas, and I'd like to follow.
Jim, I went through this with this at last meeting, and the policy committee has spent hours and hours and hours arguing and, debating and bringing this before the board. The issue that I have is that pretty much prior until last meeting, none of the board members have really it or approved it or anything.
And that is because
So-
it's,
That's fine. So I think that we've done, most of us have had comments, we've all had the opportunity to comment on the job description. And I think that, we are missing a few steps. Last meeting, we asked for this. My point is, I think if we're gonna follow this, the board ought to approve it. Or, last meeting we said, these are great, but we haven't really had a chance to digest it and say, is this exactly what we want?
and
Without any input, and so, I think at this juncture, it's a good guideline, but maybe we need to have discussion amongst the board to say, if we're gonna go this direction, we ought to approve it.
And I'm okay with that. As you know, we got hung up on some procedural issues, and that's why it didn't get brought before the board. This has been ready since, I'm gonna say February, if not before. So I'm okay with that. I am just concerned that, that if we take too long to do this, the dates that we're trying to, somebody to put forward will be difficult to hit. But nevertheless, it can be done if we get the right comments, and get the comments to come back. The alternative might be that we take this one as it is, okay, and follow it with the pure intent of saying, okay, whenever we pick GM, the next one, get input from us 6 or 5, whatever, and give you the direction. John, we'll fix this. We don't like this, or whatever. But at least keep us moving right now so that we can, in fact, find us as the general manager. Because I'm asking you to trust me. What I put here wasn't adversarial, wasn't, I think it was put there with the board members and the people who were on the policy. It was done in the best of what's best for Stansbury. Okay? It wasn't best for me or any of the other guys. And that would help us to move forward right now. I'm happy to go back and fix this. I fell on my face, I'll guarantee you, I've had some difficulties in June and July, and August, and now I've got things squared up, and I think it would be, we can improve it.
What's the bare minimum we need to do tonight so we can post tomorrow?
Can't post tomorrow. Well, I won't say you can't post tomorrow, but I think there are a couple of topics on here.
Well, that's what I'm asking, what can, what's stopping us?
So my question, I guess, is the first time we're talking about it, I don't necessarily agree with it. Right? I think the way it reads one time is to be, like, per our bylaws, it talks about, we're supposed to have a general manager act as a CEO. Right? CEOs don't actively be responsible for day-to-day operations. That's what we got qualified staff to have. Right? I'm expecting a general manager to be out here helping some of these land issues, some of these contract issues, putting together budgets so we don't spend 6 months wasting time looking at the job that we can't even afford. We just shut down the Trailbridge because they gave it $1.2 million. You know, 2 times in a row, we've been presented with Oscarson Park for 3.2, and now it's been increased to 3.7 without a parking lot, and now they decided to dump it down. I want a general manager focusing on that stuff, not operations. Let those guys, give them the tools and support the staff to do their job.
I don't think where I put on here says that he can't be that person. I don't think that's what's on. I understand what you are asking to find, and I think that person could be found during the interview process. But it is the person that sits in this particular general manager position has to wear a number of different hats in my opinion.
Correct. And I think it starts with him being the CEO, and that we as board members aren't constantly overreaching our powers and constantly reaching out beyond what our scope is. He's operations, his staff is operations. So many people are actively involved in other projects that he's responsible for. So if he's the CEO, and he's got a staff.
So I guess I'm not quite understanding. I mean, I think you can find that kind of person through the interview process, but I guess I'm not quite understanding what, when you say he's the operations deal, are you saying that's what he is now?
He's our general manager, right? He's supposed to be the CEO.
Yes.
Okay? We should be talking to him, and he should be talking to the staff.
And I think,
That's not what's happening.
so I think that I guess I would disagree, but go ahead.
I talked about,
I mean, I don't give any direction to any of this stuff, ever. I mean, if that's.
He's got a project manager who should be taking on projects. If they've been delegated by the general manager. Too much involvement from board members taking on operational duties. Let him be the general manager. If he wants to delegate his staff, let him do it.
Okay, so, Rob, if you have things you want to add to that, we've all seen it. Go ahead and put your comments in there that you would like to have added in there. Kasey, so Rob, because we're on this discussion and we're talking about this, what are your thoughts and feelings on this process that the hiring or the policy committee has worked on?
Do you have comments, Kasey?
No, nothing yet.
I'm finished.
Okay, so, Kasey, with regard to this policy overview guidelines, is this something that you're in favor of following to a T, or just using it as let's do the best we can, get this advertised? What are your thoughts?
So I think there's a happy medium in there of most of the policy stuff is in place, but to the same token, I agree with Wayne, like, how many times have you extended being June, just one? I think we are to a point of we have to get down what we want. And we can follow the guidelines, great, but there might be some of those little areas where policy's not quite totally square, and it's like, okay, we're gonna make this little amendment here. I think we can do that as a board. We can make that little directive, but, I think policy is mostly there. I mean, like Sean said, it's February, I think it was pretty much kind of in there, we got hung up on some other stuff, but all of it to the T, I don't think we need to do that. There's some pretty good guidelines we can look at. Obviously, there's other concerns, it's only the three of us, and Brock brings up the super valid concern, right? I mean, that's valid to, we need to define this a little bit better of what is responsibility regarding the posting, but that doesn't necessarily, I think that's our prerogative. If I remember in policy, that list is our prerogative to take intake from the board on all the qualifications. So, I'm of the opinion that I think we need to post it, because I think personally, you put somebody sitting alongside Jim for 4 months, and they're still gonna take the job by January, and go around with their head cut off because it's $6 million, and they don't know how to do certain things we do here, and it's 400+ acres, and they've gotta figure out, okay, Gordon's really good at this, actually good at this, and I just don't think that comes real quickly. I think it really takes for most people, especially somebody managing others, whether it's Jim or Gordon, Matt, it takes 6 months to kind of understand your guys, and, hey, I can trust this guy to do this. So, that's my opinion. I think we can get somebody in here sooner rather than later. I don't think we can keep dragging our feet. That's just my 2 cents. I think we're gonna get hosed, and the Jim will retire, and we'll finish him. And we're trying to figure something out.
Wayne, what are your thoughts on this?
My only thought is, I think we need to close and start seeing what's out there. And, because there's a time limit, I don't want to wait another 2 weeks to make discussions and stuff. The first blue sheet's pretty good. I don't know if we agree with everything on it and stuff, but, I think we set up a committee and start fishing and see who's out there.
Kyle?
If Brock has stuff he wants to add with that, get posted, let's go. I think this is great guidelines. I agree with, John. I think this time, we do the guidelines, and let's.
Okay, so, Jim, if you'll put this out again for people's comments to comment. Rob, if any of us have any comments that need to be added, let's do that, and then let's get the job posted.
Can we, given the situation that we're in, do you think we could do it quickly? I mean, instead of waiting.
As far as posting the job,
Well, I'm just trying to help you. I'm just trying to help us get going. I understand.
Put that on the comments,
But, you know, if
get them in there.
we give too long, give more comments. It's just gonna squeeze you down. Either one, two things are gonna happen. You're not gonna get it close to when you think you can, and you're just gonna have to extend out again. That's okay too. Just, please,
So
just look further down the road.
I guess my point is, it doesn't take that long to.
It does not.
So just, what timeline do you want to have on the receiving comments? By Tuesday?
So there was a tentative schedule that I put together, assuming we approved it tonight.
That's
How do you want to do that approval step that you don't put in?
Yeah, that schedule starts tomorrow, tomorrow. And I'm, if you could live with what you have, it's an exercise in going in. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I
That's a schedule right there. If that's not what you want, don't.
I would say it's important to get Brock's input. So Brock, if you could, or anybody, just make your comments, get them back to Jim by tomorrow morning.
By tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Well,
These comments were sent to us last week to respond.
I was looking at other issues that are coming up, so every week it seems to be 9 to 1.
Brock,
How
how much time?
Give me something to Friday.
Right. I'm good, right?
Sounds good.
So let me make sure I understand what you guys are going to send me more comments. I'll put them in, and then I will send this out to everybody with comments that you gave, and a comment sheet for everybody to buy out electronically instead of. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, because what, just so you understand, maybe you do. You know, we've always taken the comments, maybe, and put them, you know, on the sheet right here. When we adjudicate it, we talk about it, and we say, does this make sense? No, John's on the right over this one. And, you know, and Brett was there. I mean, he knows how we argue back and forth, and to make sure we got the best deal available. So I'm saying, willing to do what you're saying, then fine, let's get it on a spreadsheet, and Jim's gonna send it out. Get our comments back that says, I disagree with this, or I agree with this, whatever the answer is. And then we will have to take that information and see how it fits into the list we've already got. And it needs to be in there. Damn thing. Just it's a matter of work, that's all it is. And we probably won't get out, if you can do what he said by Friday, and get it out to us, and then it'll be sometime next week, is what I'm trying to explain to you, is when you're going to be able to get the street, okay? It isn't going to be Monday, because I have to have time to look at it, and you guys got to say, yes, no, I don't like this, I got to think about it, whatever.
I think, John, at this point, we just put the comments in and everybody's seen it and.
I mean, what are you going to add? I mean, I'm looking at other general manager, job descriptions right now. I don't know what you're gonna add to. I mean, you're gonna add a sentence or two.
Right, but we're running a small municipality, right? We're not Parks and Rec. Right, we're Parks and Rec plus we're a small municipality. It's beyond that. So I had multiple conversations with staff. It'd be nice if I guess you guys had some staff input too, because it's not hilarious.
Well, that, well, that's
What was that comment?
I think there's concerns that, right, as John, you were pointing out, right, we don't want to revisit the last three potential GMs, right?
absolutely.
Okay, so there's concerns that let's make sure that we have somebody that can deal with some of these deals. Some of these problem issues.
And I know, it's just that because one guy was sitting right here in front of you had some problems. Couldn't get this down to you folks, okay? Anybody else? Okay, there was other issues.
I think we're just
Took
talking
care of
about, just job description. Ingrid had a comment.
Do we want to schedule a 1-hour work meeting prior to the next board meeting?
I don't think you can wait that long. I think we gotta go next week.
We can do a quick 1-hour meeting in 10 days.
This is
Well, they
10
would
days,
be-
right? 2 days, an hour.
Bottom line is right.
Yeah.
If you don't think a general manager is the way to go, then let's present that to us and let's look at it.
I mean,
Because every argument you said, I can say, I can go get a lawyer to do this, right? I don't need that expertise 24/7 on site, right? So let's see what we need,
Some of the historic documents are proving that though, right? The fact that we had people in that position that did know the call.
say that one more time.
That's proven, right, to your point, right? Like, we don't need an attorney on site. You're right, we don't. We gotta have the person on site that knows who and when to call, what type of attorney.
right?
With some of these documents, stuff like that, we've been doing, that clearly hasn't been the case. Because we convey property, we take on property that is questionable.
How would you not make those calls?
But I
Remember what your points are.
But I think that's why we have a board too, right? We are the checks and balances.
Yeah.
Right?
Good point, but I still believe that we're not letting the GM.
Okay, so bring something forward. Because I want to see what you bring forward, because I mean, I want to see you bring forward.
Okay, so folks, go ahead, Brett.
Go ahead.
Bob's gonna get some information to Jim by Friday night.
Yeah.
Jim's gonna do his best to put it in this kind of spreadsheet. He's gonna send it out to us. Please pay attention to what's going on.
So the issue's gonna be, may get conflicting comments. How do you resolve or adjudicate those conflicting comments?
Well, that was what we used to get when we were on the policy, when the policy board was coming. We did get conflicting issues. And members of the, we had 4 or 5 members that are on the policy team. sometimes it would take, we wouldn't solve it. It would take another week, we'd get back together and say, okay, I come to this, so what do you think of this? Okay? And so we give conflicting statements on the deal.
The other thing,
I guess
let me just say real quickly how this is structured. The qualification section are walking in. They have to meet these qualifications before they're in the door.
Yes, sir.
The skills section is sort of what we like to have. So they don't have to have these, and the committee will have to determine what weighting to give to each of those requirements. Once they get in the door.
That's true, that's.
Everybody understand that organization?
So we don't have that set?
You don't have what?
You're saying we don't have this weighted criteria set?
No, that's what the committee will do. This is what we're looking for. We would like to have these, but they don't necessarily have to have those. They have to have those qualifications.
So all the comments are on the blue sheet, is that what we're talking about?
What's that?
The comments that we're sending.
I put all the comments in the latest. There's two of them. One is the one with everything adjudicated. The other one was where we started with after my first.
So this one looks like this, it's got bullet points on the side.
Okay,
That's the most current,
right there. Yes,
that's the most current document we should be looking at. But the other one was the one that was used, this was I recall, when we, was it for, excuse me.
Okay, so Rob will get the comments, if anybody else has them, get them to my by, and move on, okay? Need to do anything else?
Jim, do we need to discuss the salary and benefits we've got listed there, or do you think that's going to be handled by the?
I think the committee should handle that.
I do too.
And there's a range there for the committee to decide, okay, how much of these criteria, what do we think this guy ranks, and I mean, that's sort of what we did last time around. We formed the committee, filed and read for the committee. They looked at the candidates, decided who they wanted, and came and said, okay, what can we get you?
Shouldn't the GM be the highest paid person on staff?
You know what? Generally, that's true. That's not necessarily true. I know when I was at Dudley, I had guys with PhD chemists that were doing cutting-edge research work that were paid a lot higher than any of the managers. So, if generally that's the case, but there may be a case where that is not. But yes, generally you would like to see the GM higher, because he should theoretically have more responsibility.
Well, he's got more responsibility, but he also has to. Yeah, he should have not necessarily all the technical skills, but he used to have at least enough general information that when a manager comes to him and says, hey, this type of a sprinkler head sucks, and here's why, that he'd be able to look at it and say, oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense, as opposed to just taking a blank card and trying to explain it to him. It's got to be kind of like an encyclopedia. You got to know a hell of a lot about a little bit.
So if you look at the latest version, this little comment in red is the one I did not adjudicate because I felt the board should decide what they wanted to say in that section. That's highlighted in red on that last version.
I think that's very important, personally. That's in there.
I sense some discord there, so I think the board needs to resolve what they exactly want to say. And that's what, we may uncover more of those, which may require more discussion.
Does anybody not want that in there? Does anybody disagree with it?
Well, I firmly agree.
Let's keep it in. Move forward. Okay, so we'll get the comments, on
Friday, like that job description, and we'll move on from there. And let's move on to discussion of vacating and amending lot 27, Golf Course Island, subdivision 3 plat. Are you gonna take this on, Jim?
I'll take it, initially. These are 3 separate, pieces of property that are untitled to, Joseph Wilson. There was some concern about how those pieces were transferred and what the status was. We did talk to the lawyer, and these appear to be a consolidation of what the requirements are. There must be a valid deed for property in Joe Wilson's name. The lawyer felt that the quitclaim deed that was built by the 2019 board was sufficient for that purpose. Parcels need to be adequately identified. There was a complete survey done with the legal funds of the parcel. The county, as the land use authority, is asking for the lot line adjustments, not us. The agency is being informed in case we have any of the following: a public right-of-way, utility easement, or other public property that would affect operations. In fact, it would affect the existing easement, on-site wastewater, or internal lot restrictions, such as restricted covenants, and the result in the parcel out of conformity with land use requirements. So, according to the lawyer, this action appeared to meet those requirements. I know there is some discussion about number 1, but according to the lawyer, he seemed to think that quitclaim deed was sufficient. So that's where we are, to bring that forward to say, are we willing to authorize Rick to find this plat and say, yes, he can consolidate those pieces of property. It's very similar to the Million property, although the Million property is much more clear cut than this one because of the warranty deed and because it's outside of the properties that were included in the bankruptcy. So that's the basic requirements. It's up to the board to decide where they want to go with this. Is that clear for everybody where we are with this?
For me, the agency does not have a right to object unless that's.
Unless we have one of those bottom 3, we don't fit.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah.
So one of the questions in terms that I brought up initially was, when the quitclaim deed was signed, there was no rep C or any kind of proof that a change in ownership ever occurred. There's like a buddy letter. There was nothing ever presented of legal value that said this in fact happened, is my understanding. The other concern is if you look at the signatures on the quitclaim deed, I think a person possibly should recuse themselves. This kind of goes back to something about these land issues.
The board approved signing the deed, and the chairman of the board happened to be the neighbor. That's not a conflict of interest. I could have a conflict of interest with Dean who's living in Lakeland because I know her. The board as a whole authorized the quitclaim deed, the chairman signed the quitclaim deed. That's not a conflict of interest, because you know each other. If the chairman at the time would have had personal dealing without the approval of the board, it would have been a conflict of interest.
There's no proof that a real estate contract ever occurred.
There's no proof. I'm not hearing you very good.
There's no proof of the purchase in the first place.
Which was before the bankruptcy. That was before the bankruptcy.
Okay, great. There's no proof of it.
You've got a piece of paper.
You guys can go on a piece of paper. The agency made mistakes. I'm not concerned.
So the attorney advised us that we were legally, what was the word? He said that basically we don't have a standing, not to sign.
It's right in number 3. As much as I agree with you, it's right in number 3, because it says, can the current board change the decision that was made by that board we have standing? No.
Okay, and then per the conversation with the county today, is it something that had to be decided today? No. yet we continue to be presented with these conversations that we have to have an action today. We have to have an action today. We have to have an action today.
But I guess the question is, what more research do you need to make a decision?
How many more of these questions are we going to talk about?
Probably a lot. Because things in the past were done which were probably not according to law. We all know that. And, you know, all we can do is, all the board can do is respond to what's presented in the time, make it best possible.
Right, so land that was supposed to be purchased in the seventies had quick claim deed assigned in 2019. 7 years later, it's presented for us to vote on it within a couple of days.
How much more time do we need? We've got an attorney that's given us an opinion,
Just grant us the documents every meeting.
but you want an attorney to give us an opinion. He gave us an opinion that they are the right owners of the property. It's been recorded. We have no standing, we don't have an easement that we need on the property. We have no standing not to sign the plan. That's what the attorney said, and you're making it sound like we're being rushed.
I feel like we're being rushed. This could have been done 7 years ago. Could have been done 6, 7 months ago. We knew about this a week ago. They started circulations for flat 2 weeks ago.
We knew about it last month, their meeting. That was the first time it was brought before us for discussion. Any other comments?
So I have just one question. It's just a question because it says, does the board have an obligation to sign the file? No, we don't have an obligation, we have to sign it. So my question is do they need our signatures from other parcels? Just because we're.
So is that the last today's reply?
That was just the first one. And that's why I did that.
Because the first reply was, the property owner was asking for.
Right. I did not understand.
He had a misunderstanding. Once he was corrected that Crow County was a land use authority, and they were requesting that we sign the plan. Now he's saying the service agency doesn't have any standing basically now.
Right, and so the service agency is not authorizing the plat. We are saying we are aware of the plat and we have no easements, land use issues within that plat. If there is something like an obscure land use thing in there, then we could say, no, we have a reject.
Or if we had a right of way running a water line or something, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Have some standing at all.
It's the county doing its due diligence, which they haven't done in the past, to say, we're gonna do this unless there is a functional issue with doing that. Will it create an issue that is, a problem? The reason this land was singled out by, TerraCorp to go to this individual is it's too narrow. It's difficult to maintain, it's difficult for traffic. So there is no really issue in terms of traffic ability or crossing the line.
You could make that same argument all the way around.
So I would argue that the county's actually doing us a favor. What happens if we did have a sprinkler irrigation line running through their own property line? It is now being vacated with this new proposed law. And we say, we don't want to be on the plat, we don't want to be a signature. But we have lines running through the easement. Well, once that plat is signed and recorded, all of our rights go away, and we have no right to be in that easement anymore.
And
So we're actually doing us a favor by having us on the plat to acknowledge, number one, that we don't have any utilities in the PUE, and number two, we still, if we need access around that 7-foot PUE, that we still have the ability to have access to that. Any other concerns, questions? Okay.
Wait,
Oh, sorry, man.
I'm not real happy about what happened in the past with all, there's a lot of weird things going on, we're all seeing right now, but we can't control any of that. I go past that piece of property, one time in my last 30 years, it looks like his property. Jack doesn't want that property. I don't think this is the battle we need to do. I think we sign it and go on and make sure the future, none of this crap happens. That's what we can control.
Most of what we're seeing. I agree, we don't want this to happen in the future, but I guarantee you, it's already out there.
It is, I agree.
And
I don't have to have
it
it.
ain't coming to us again, it's going to somebody else. Right.
So we talked about that last night.
Map I had it here,
You're talking the yellow colored portion.
Golf course.
way back here. Those are nice.
Yep, so we were talking about last night, it's when you security bankruptcy thing or whatever else, when it finally is resolved in, I think, what, 2031?
Yeah.
Have a plan in place to possibly dissolve most or all green belts. These green belts don't benefit the greater community, they benefit the direct neighbors. That should be considered, because again, we keep talking about possibly talking
We
years.
should do that today, Bob.
Can
Well, what do you say, I guess you need to clarify for us what your thoughts when you said.
You're talking about planning. Planning.
In some of those green belt place, these are like, start getting rid of them.
Getting rid of them in one manner.
Selling them off to neighbors that might want larger parcels, so the agency doesn't have to take.
So these right behind John's house right now, we can put 3 houses in it right now. That way you
And more bigger lots.
But that,
And more, like, there's some areas you couldn't put on, right, but definitely bigger lots.
well, this one right here behind John's house,
And if you-
it would make him happy.
And it could be
Or
fenced off. It's
Yeah.
more security for the golf course.
That,
I mean, once they're fenced off, it's more security for the golf course.
no, I agree with that.
The issue is you have multiple houses, so this guy says, yep, I want it, and this guy doesn't, guess who's maintaining?
We already played that game before, when we went down a lot of, where we had these fingers, where we have these fingers, and we talked to the owners on both sides. Would you be interested in having this piece of property, or splitting it, or whatever? Most of them told us, go ahead.
But we've had others who say, yes, I want.
But that's what I'm saying, you're gonna have with these little pieces, that's what I'm saying. But yes, should we look at it? Absolutely. I'm just thinking it's not cut and dry, that's all.
Right.
But we should have, like you said, a plan, right?
Yeah.
I think you're both talking planning. I think it wouldn't be bad to have a plan in place to know at the end of the driving range, we fit 2 more houses. Just like you said, and I live there, and I really wouldn't even care, because right now it's dead. Put the houses in, make some money on, that is a fine line, but the planning portion needs to happen, so when somebody comes and says, I want to buy this, for whatever reason, we have something ready to go. I think that's what you're kind of saying, right?
Possibly, a lot of people have answers, but I don't know, like water and sewers, available services.
Okay, thank you. Next order of business, any other discussion on the golf course on the subdivision plan? Okay. Discussion of the Sagebrook Trail.
So this is the Sagebrook Trail as it exists. The areas in yellow are the areas that have already been deeded to Stansbury Service Agency. When this plat/plan set was approved, that trail was supposed to be a pervious trail with 3 inches or 6 inches of road base. When Sagebrook got ready to develop this section, or was getting ready, they were told that we would not accept this unless it was asphalt. Sagebrook at that time said well, we don't want to asphalt this without asphalting this for everybody else. So the proposal was for the water shares they need to complete their, area, that they would fund putting asphalt in along that whole length of the trail, to include the parts that aren't finished yet, down here and down here, and then the whole thing would eventually come through the service agency. There were some issues, like we presented last month, what the bills were that Sagewood had, or that Ivy Homes had set up with them. Understand this is not our paving project, so the rules don't apply because Ivy Home is doing the paving, we're just reimbursing them for part of that. So, in previous discussions, we've talked of accepting that if they would have the rest of it paid. The agency contribution was to be the 2.6 water shares to pay it. I had a discussion with Ivy Homes on 13th August. Walk them around, I walked the trail. The first question that comes to mind, we already own 3/4 of it, 90% of it. Does the board want the trail paved? My sense is, as the operations manager, I would rather have it paved and forego some of the maintenance that previous trail is going to cause us, and not have it paved. But it's up to the board if they want to do that, and are they willing to put the investment in place. Ivy Homes talked about moving back to the HOA. That's probably not feasible if we don't want it. The grading, both Brett and I walked the trail. I walked the property and showed them where there are major issues with the current grading, whether it is eventually paved or whether it remains as a pervious trail. And if we want to look into a separate company to do it and say, okay, we'll just pave it ourselves once we get it, it will probably cost us a lot more money than what the proposed system to have, the proposed schedule to have Ivory pave all of that at once. So I've got to go back to Ivory and say where we're going. So we need, the board needs to answer what parameters you want to have in these discussions. We want to pave, we want to continue on a certain path that we are. I will probably use some homework to talk to the companies that I could look at to see how aligned the paving costs are from the company that Ivory has. I don't think we have any standing at this point in time to go in and say we want to take over paving until they transfer it to us and then it's all.
So from my perspective, you're open for discussion.
Yeah, Kasey, go ahead. So just refresh my memory, because it's been 2 weeks. And we already signed off on that pink section there that goes from Duke Lane to Park.
This one?
Yes. Have we signed it or no? So I will restate my opinion that I stated before. Not necessarily our problem if they don't want to pay that or do that. That's what we require for them to give it to us. I think that's on them to figure out. That's my first question. Since we already own that, I think we should be discussing, but I think no matter what, that red line from Duke to Parkway, this one, we won't accept unless it's paid. I agree. Things change, right? I have stuff changing all the time at work. Prices go up, vendors change things all the time, and it's not out of luck. It's what's changing. And I think
That's basically what I was going to tell. If you don't pay it, we won't pay it.
okay, I agree. So I don't necessarily. I want to make sure I was clear on that part because I think that needs to be out of the discussion. That's going to be paid, or we won't pay it. Do we want the rest of it paid? I don't think there's a standing for them to say, well, if you pay this, we have to do this. I just want that out there from my perspective.
No, they don't, but as a concession, they have said, yeah, we'll assist in getting this paid because it looks better for us all.
Do you have that cost breakdown?
The cost breakdown for
The each and a half of asphalt with 3 inches of asphalt on top that was presented last time with John and Kansas.
I do got to have the page 3.
So while you're looking for that, the only concern that I had about this last time is, I just want to make sure we're getting more money for it, right? The sell the shares is $40,000 each, right?
Yes.
So, in my mind, the only way to understand what we're getting is just get another quote from somebody and say, this is what they won't pay it. You get a quote and see if it's a good sell.
So this is the cost breakdown you're talking about?
Yeah. There was one slide where you showed what the aggregate was versus the asphalt cost. $1.50 or something like that for the road base, $3.69 for the asphalt.
Yeah, I don't think that was in the pack.
So in a nutshell, I guess back on the East Snap road base, they were putting that because their quality control really doesn't exist.
Yes.
So why are we paying for that again? And there were some other questions about, for that detail that was presented, was separation fabric or the geofabric even placed? It doesn't sound like it was placed. Nobody confirmed it.
You can see it in some, they didn't, we had that discussion last year, and I don't remember if they went back and placed it, but
I don't know how to.
some of the, you can see it in several different locations that it's sticking up on the road base.
I said, that was in when I walked this trail, I walked it 3 Sundays ago, maybe 4 Sundays, one of the days. And I walked it, and I looked really carefully at the edges to see if they had fabric in there. And I was looking for fabric, I was looking for how they graded it and all that kind of stuff. So I agree with that. There is a lot of fabric in place, not proving every inch, probably not. But as I walked it, I looked for that. So I know what it is.
Okay, so if that was placed, then the next question would be, why should the agency pay for each and every road base?
Which you can get an inch and a half over.
So is
So I don't think,
So
so,
I didn't understand that question.
so, originally, how it was proposed to us last year is that they gave us the price for the asphalt. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was more than that or less than that.
I thought it was 180, but I don't know what they were based it on.
So, the original arrangement was at that point in time, it wasn't necessarily a 50-50 split. They approached the board and said, and last year, the water rights were at $30,000 an acre foot. That was the value last year for the water rights.
So they know about it.
Now at $40,000.
Okay, that was my
So-
question earlier to me.
So I'm not sure, that the agency is putting forward more money to, pay for road base. That's not, I don't think that was the thought. But the reason why they put that in there is because we walked it this spring and said, you gotta level this up. And so they contractor $40,000 to try to get, to meet our expectations of private paving. I'm not sure how all of the costs figured out, but it's, I guess now it just feels like there's an artificial, that the service agency is paying more money now because the water rights are valued at $40,000. So really, I guess it just comes down to asphalt, and when it comes to asphalt, and if not, we won't worry about it, and they can buy the water on the open market, or whatever you desire.
So we did, also in our discussions with Ivory, they indicated if to account for the additional costs, they might be willing to build a wider trail, which we would like because 6 was pretty narrow. So it's a narrow trail. So, there's still some negotiation to go with Ivory if that's the way we want to go. I told Ivory I'd get a sense for, the board wants to go ahead and try and work out the deal to do the paving, or we just want to say we're done with it. Just we'll take what we got and we'll pay.
So
gonna be kind of something, there's some nowhere size, half of the ours, half of the yours.
Yeah, in your minutes from August 5th, one of the discussion items is this. And it says, I went through it, it was quoted in there, it says, the presentation showed an Eccles paving price of $147,000 for the additional low base and 3 inches of commercial grade asphalt. Okay, under the proposed 50/50 arrangement, that would be $74,000 for each part. And we were going to sell, it was suggested that we sell 2.6 acre feet of water at $40,000 per acre. And the credits would be valued at $104,000 compared to the 78 prior, $30,000 per square foot. So that's why I was asking, it was the price of our water changed in American has. So as I look at that particular situation, I walked most recently, I told you I walked it before. And at some point in time, you know, all of these residents that are over there, however many there are, you know, somebody's gonna walk down around that trail and move around, come out here and come back out to Stansbury, the village boulevard. I think it's just the betterment of our constituents that, you know, that we asphalt that particular area over there. I mean, to try to maintain that area, whether it's yellow or red at this particular time, and say, hey, you know, we're just going to put road base on there, and then we're going to, you know, we're going to maintain it. That's crazy. I mean, all we're going to do, all we're doing is generating leaks. We don't put asphalt down on that thing, and, you know, we become totally responsible for that. I can't even imagine. I couldn't stand enough guys over there in the summer to keep that damn thing under control. There's no way. It'll grow weeds faster than we can put people over there. Having asphalt over there is benefit to the neighborhoods that are over there and the people that walk it, run it, right on it. It's an add to Stansbury Park. It's an add to those folks in Sagewood. It's just a better deal all the way around. I would encourage you very strongly to go with getting this all asphalt and, you know, and moving forward with that particular deal. It's just an amenity that I think, you know, we should help provide. I mean, and I think the trade is a good idea. So we can get something without having to actually dig out a pocket.
So I would agree, like, I'm not against paving, but to Kyle's point, the red and the red, so we clarify, we don't have ownership of right now.
I don't even think we have ownership of that yellow.
The yellow's been deeded to us, right? The yellow has been deeded to us, so for $104,000, is that the cost to pave the yellow? Because what I'm understanding is the 147 is to pave it all. And in reality, they should be paving yellow. Is it just yellow? Is it just the yellow of the 147?
There was an act for another 1,200 feet, 1,300 feet.
Yes.
So that's where I come to, why would we pay that? Because we're required to be signed off to stuff. Thank the buck, right? Don't charge us another 1,200 feet when they're supposed to do it that way. I just want to make sure, is $104,000 the right price for the yellow, right? That's what we don't want.
Well, these plats have not been approved. Brett can correct me if I'm wrong, there has been preliminary discussions that these would also be road based, right?
Sorry, what's that?
When they did this, the discussion was that this whole thing would be road based. And that if they hadn't changed the deeding requirements, they would have done those in road base and given it to us. That's right. Correct?
I remember that coming before the planning and zoning board. That's what they, you know, it was this gravel trail. I argued with them there.
So the corner lot phase 15 is still in the plan review. Plans haven't been approved for phase 15. That's the corner. They're just, they had a pause. And so phase 15 plans are still under review. So I can speak to phase 2 in the red over there. That's what we said. If you want us to take it over, it needs to be an asphalt trail. Otherwise, you need to tell homeowners association because we don't want the maintenance.
Yeah, but then, okay.
So that's
We
what
certainly can do that, but in the long term, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, that HOA ain't gonna be there. And we're gonna get stuck with whatever the hell's left.
So, is everybody in agreement? Do you want an asphalt trail, Rob? Or-
Yeah, I'm not close to it, I just don't think it's a road base.
Okay. So, what about if Jim contacted me and they said, do the 7-foot wide trail?
I'll say the end.
Make the trail 7-foot wide instead of 6. Is that
And
a doable thing?
And pave it.
And pave it?
And so, for the water rights, we're doing all the, is that what it is?
They're doing everything, but they're saying is we've not agreed. So we're saying that these plats are signed, we want them asphalt.
I'm just asking, the 147, is it just the yellow, or is it?
I believe so.
Or is it the corner and everything else?
This corner is this 147 pages.
Okay, so that,
This is not.
okay, so that brings to my point, on the corner lot, we should not be paying because that would be something when they lead it to us and say, this needs to be asked for.
Yeah, you're negotiating a point there on the corner.
What about when you go to that?
I read it already said, you know, that's the chess piece. Right?
I agree, John, I'm not saying we don't take any of them, I'm not saying like, well, I'm just saying, if we're telling them, as we have, and I'm here phase 2, like Brett just said, we want this to be paved in asphalt when we turn it over to them. That's at their cost, because they're developing correctly. So that corner, we haven't done anything, we can say, we want that paved at more cost than developed. But this quote they're giving us is paving that corner, so I'm saying,
You're
why?
saying that the 147, whatever it was.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying, like,
That 140, okay, Jim, I understood it. All right, but let's try it one more time, see if I can get through my head. From the yellow right up there at the top, or I can't see what it says. Here?
Oh, it died?
Okay, I want to go from there, here, down to there. That's for 147, is mine correct? Is my answer correct?
Yes.
Okay. This piece
That's
from
their
right there.
contractor's policy paid that whole thing for 147 and as the road base.
And all, it costs us is the water treatment,
Right.
if we agree to that cost.
That last piece of red that goes from,
It's their problem.
I think,
Yeah, usually.
I think, and that red piece is down from right there to Duke. That's their issue, but we won't accept it unless it's paid.
Correct.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
so that's why I'm just asking, is the red parcel on the corner, we haven't accepted it.
But I think,
Except
we may not have accepted it, but I think it was part of it.
it's part of the
I
agreement.
think it was part of the handshake of how we're gonna get this done.
That plat is not.
So that's all I'm saying, we haven't finalized it, so just like here, we can say, look, we want an asphalt trail. But right now, we're technically funding.
Okay, all right.
So for
One or the other, give me the asphalt.
yeah, your Kyle's bang for buck. Are we getting our full bang for buck, or are we paying a little more because we're covering their development in the corner?
Then we just, okay, you're gonna have to sit down and talk to them, and you're gonna have to get in a position that you, whatever they say, you gotta, like, They can tell you why. You're gonna have to go.
Well, see, and I would be getting travel drive, I wouldn't be opposed to getting just an outside number bid. You did that, and they were significantly low. But I understand we're kind of at their mercy, their contractor. Well, I get we're not paying the money for it, but I want to make sure, like I was saying, are we getting the bid for this? We're giving $104,000 worth of water for a $147,000 project. We're already way over 50/50. We are getting asphalt, but we're paying for something we not even signed a plat to. And we're paying for something according to us.
And we approach Ivory and say, we want an 8-foot trail.
You can.
So why would you want to prove that, right?
6 feet is way too narrow.
So what?
A 6-foot trail is way too narrow. And 8 foot would make that trail a lot more usable. And it would help our
Okay,
cost, as you say.
okay. You walk that trail, okay, and you know, take your laser, go up here to the top of the yellow, there, from there, clear down to become there, and probably even beyond. I'm telling you that to increase, well,
It's
I'll tell you what,
basically,
let's try it. But I'm telling you that right now, that along that trail right there are places where I'm not sure you can get it.
So,
It's too damn narrow between the back of the property and the ditch.
this is already graded.
Fine, but let's get all the way you can get. Why not?
So what they would probably have to do is shore that up or do bring some fill in.
Well, they might have to bring a little fill in, or I believe that the edge of the trail is right up where the property line is, but I could be wrong. Okay, because some of it's right to the fence, some of it's a little bit short. Okay,
So they may have to do some,
but if we can negotiate and get 8 foot, yeah.
I think we have, we're paying asphalt for $100,000 out of our pocket, which is just water, which still nothing. That's a pretty good deal.
so you want to go back to Ivory and see if they'll do 8 foot.
and if not, maybe we can settle on 7.5.
They also mentioned that if we didn't get enough value, they may try to check at the end to cover any.
Another option might be is to say, well, we'll give you the water rights at 30,000 acre foot and then pay us the cash for the additional increase of the 40. That's another option.
Okay, that gives me some parameters to talk about also.
So I have one last question, because we talked about it a whole bunch. We have legal standing to develop property we don't own. Do we have legal standing to put money in and develop something we don't own yet?
We have to sell water rights to them to develop these systems, right?
Yeah.
Right, but
It's probably not any different than us.
I'm just asking, I mean, we're.
Right now, it's not our property, right? And we're gonna.
He's saying that we have the right to give money to the contractor and say, we like to improve this while you're there.
Well, we signed up on plats without them providing the infrastructure.
It's just a question I'm asking, if somebody comes back,
Why
don't
don't
we
we
put something we don't own yet, you know, and.
Let's get it paid quick, and then they won't.
You watch, it doesn't need all the HOA.
It's all right. Hey, well, we are in Ivory, don't
It's just like, I'm trying to find out about kids, so we don't get to come in here, why we spend money for something, not necessarily ours.
It's no different than the money that you spend up front for sidewalk, for better sidewalk.
Hey, Brett, do you, put your managers head on for a minute? Is that something you can present to us of how many water rights we have left? I'm getting a little nervous.
He did that like a year ago or something.
Oh, I know.
We did that to the Rex, to the Greenbelt side, and it's all, I think, is
And we're making sure we ain't down to the railroad, that's what I'm a little worried about.
I've got the results of those deals the last time you did it.
So I
Do
guess,
it again.
that brings up the other question that Jim brought forward. Yes, I can review those calculations and give them to the board. We can put it on the agenda for next meeting for that discussion. Is it to see if the board wants to entertain the idea of selling, I think it's like 5 or 6 acre feet to the Clegg property. But then you can see kind of where we're at with our rights.
Okay.
So I can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tim. All right, board review and possible approval of August 5th, 2026 board meeting minutes. Any discussion or questions, concerns?
So, since I was there, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can you tell me, or tell me early, I'm on page 2. No, 2, 3. I'm on page 3. And, we talked about the treatment of the pond. Okay, we went through that. Explain that to me. So, on the golf course irrigation, staff reviewed irrigation and pond treatment issues. We talked about the pond treatment and explained that valves located in sprinkler heads, okay, that's the one we talked about. Those are existing heads, they're not necessarily new ones we installed, right? So we're working on that. All right. And then we talked about, or you guys talked about the fountains out front there, trying to get the appropriate VFDs there. I thought, Sean,
Yes,
down under number 2 at the bottom of page 3 under projects, a couple of capital projects that were scheduled, I guess. We talked about the pro shop air conditioner. I thought we got the air conditioner replaced on the pro shop, am I mistaken?
yes, sir, we received the rebate from last month after install was done.
Okay, so I didn't understand why it was still on here because it was already done. So you guys got it. The other question I had, we talked about that, I was on the swimming pool, we talked about the water, 30 to 40,000. Last thing I had on. Okay, perhaps you're going to, where are we at with the sound wall? Oh, Jim already talked about that. Karen's going back to the job, trying to get funding, get that. I'm done. Sorry.
Are there any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 5th, 2026 board meeting minutes as they are.
Second.
Thank you. Wayne, how do you vote?
Yay.
John?
I have to abstain on this one.
Kyle?
Yes.
Grant votes yes. Rob?
Yes.
And Kyle? Oh, sorry. Voting down there? Kasey? Aye.
It's all sorry.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Thank you, motion passes. Board review and possible approval of July financial statements, purchases, and journal entries.
Any questions on those?
Can you talk about, or can you explain to me, I'm on page
Which vendor then?
I think the numbers are five. Or it might be, no, it's six. Six. On the left-hand side, we talk about Polk County Health Department. They came out 4 times. Anyway, we're paying them to come out. $75 a pop. We have to do that every once in a while.
No, it's with an error. She, it doesn't credit us, it's being voted
Oh,
They sent us another one we never paid.
okay, fine.
Different numbers we didn't catch.
So that they do come out of their discretion to do is multiple discretion.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the difference.
Oh, the last question I had was, on Target River, on that same page, it says near the top. I know Target River is somebody that we use for marketing and stuff. Can you tell us what they did in the last month or so?
Yeah, those are ad buys. Either in the
Are these
northeast.
ad buys that are on the radio or what?
One of them was an ad buy on the radio. We got in on, when the final four, they were doing the golf thing, and so we did, I guess it's the NBA draft kind of thing. And then, we also did some ad buys in various magazines, business-related magazines, trying to focus more on pulling businesses out here, so.
And is the 15,000 cover a period of time or a year?
That covers, 6 months.
6 months.
Does anyone ask that question to food truck farm? I'm still got a question like a lot of farms, but.
Yeah, we have a phone so that the food trucks, when they're here, can call us if they have an issue or call us to cancel.
Do they have 2 phones or 1 phone? So we provide them a phone to call.
No, it's our phone for them to call.
It's a different one.
So that they, so that they don't have to call the office phone and nobody here, they can call from the cell phone. Like the on-call.
On-call phone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically.
Yeah, they have cell phones, I would pay for them. I got you.
That's why. So we got one so that we can do contact with them outside of this.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the July financial statements, purchases, and journal entries in the amount of $194,793.30.
Second.
Thank you, for that. Wayne, how do you vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Kyle?
Aye.
Brett votes aye. Rob? Aye. And Kasey? Aye. Thank you, motion passes unanimously. Possible approval of vacating the Million Lot 27 Golf Course Island subdivision number 3 plat. I will entertain a motion for approval of vacating amending Golf Course Island subdivision 3 plat. Is there any further discussion or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the vacating of and amending lot 27 of Golf Course Island subdivision number 3 plat.
Can I make one, let's make the motion on the recommendation of council, so we have that noted.
That's fine.
Would you mind just redoing it for that?
No, please add, let me redo it. I'll read it. Possible approval of vacating, I make a motion to approve the possible approval of vacating and amending lot 27 of Golf Course Island subdivision number 3 plat on the advice of council.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Wayne, how do you vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Kyle?
Aye.
Brett votes aye. Rob?
Aye.
And Kasey?
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes unanimously. Possible approval of the GM job description, qualifications, and hiring process. We had pretty lengthy discussion up above in the discussion items. Does anybody want to put that in on the motion?
I make a motion for the approval of the GM job description, qualifications, hiring process subsequent to getting information from board members to Jim by Friday, and getting it adjudicated as quickly as possible next
Second.
Second.
Aaron, how do you vote?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Kyle?
Aye.
That votes aye. Rob?
Aye.
Casey? Aye. Thank you, motion passes unanimously. Also, let's see, open conversation for individual board members, present final thoughts on the subject covered week. Updates on individual projects not covered by the GM and requests for future board actions. Anybody anxious to start us off tonight? Maybe you get to go first.
Yeah, I'd like to recognize Kelly and Jim and Sean and everybody that gets Stansbury Day, the volunteers, the people that work. I got to be involved in it. Everybody worked with me. But very good job.
I agree. Thank you guys, sorry for that. Casey?
I would echo the wing stuff, and then I would just, like to recognize a little bit further on that, there is, since our last meeting, grass is greening up in places it wasn't, but there's pretty good effort going on. I think the grass being green in our park is probably the primary thing we all see as we drive around. So just an appreciation to Gordon and Mac and helping the both their crews get stuff green. There's stuff that has been dead that looks great now. It's still a lot more work, but just to know that they worked really hard. I understand they're probably a lot of grief. So just want to appreciate that.
Thank you. Rob?
I guess the same thing, Stansbury is awesome. So, 16 years ago, Stansbury weekend, when we moved in, and then this past weekend, we had some new neighbors down the street in the new Richmond house moved in. And I kept pushing Stansbury, so, every event can have a few bumps and bruises here and there. No different than any year, but I think that's what we got with Stansbury, right? That's one of the reasons we got with Stansbury. What a cool place to work. Cool way to end summer, right? Kids are at school today, and it's something everybody looks forward to. So thank you everybody for everything. So thank you.
Thanks, Rob. John?
I thought Stansbury Day was fantastic. I think everybody, all the staff, worked really hard, and it was, to me, I thought the parade was the best we've ever had. We had folks, I mean, guys, I've been here 11 years, had kids full. Yeah. Wagons down the road.
I was probably one of them.
I was one of them. Probably my tractor in that thing.
And, I think we've come a long way, and I think a lot of that goes to Kelly and her staff. And what they did, the advertising that they worked hard to get on. I was very proud that we had our royalty on the float. Up until now, we've had it in a convertible. And it looked nice, but this time, we put them on the float, and it was nice. We got Tour Cities, they came down and they support us a lot. They support us all the time with the royalty. We had to face 47 because of royalty, because one of the girls is in the days of 47, she lives here. And so she was able to get them to come out here. I thought that was so. I think we're making strides. I really do. There are times like today when we're dealing with now over the bridge. that we look at it, when we say, where the hell did this come from? But I'll tell you one thing that I have seen happen in the last months. Our relationship that we are working on with most of our utility people, SPID, Rocky Mountain Power, a little more kind of questionable. But anyway, we're doing better. We're building bridges with these guys so that when issues like this comes up over here with the bridge, and we need to move electrical people, they don't look at us like we're idiots. We're willing to work with us. They think for it. They help us. They realize that we're growing, and someday, anyway, and that comes from the staff. It comes from a manager and people who sit in the office over there. So there are days that I get pretty upset. And I find out that I shut my mouth for a while. Makes you better. So, I appreciate those kind of efforts. And I appreciate the fact that, some of the people that we work with, we've worked, I've supported Stansbury for years. When Terry Porter walked out and left us, they left us. He will never get me to say that they were. But we've built a lot of stuff, because we had some attorneys that were willing to spend time and effort on their own time to help, because they had the skill level to work with it, and we have the people, the fact that I have an association or a relationship with SPID. That could be a lousy relationship, it could be a great one. And we work together to help each other. Those are the kind of relationships that go years and make things better. So, think about all the things that have happened since 1980 to get us where we're at today, and how many sacrifices were made by individuals so that we can be where we're at. We didn't get here just because we dropped out of the sky. We worked our ass off. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve. Hope that you understand how Stansbury was coming from. Damn near nothing. Where we are now.
Thank you.
That's nothing.
Thank you, John.
Just a couple things. If we see, organized league football in our fields, do you want to know about it? Yes. Just from the library, we had some library stats. I'll present summer reading stats. So total patrons, this was up, so last year was 1,700 for last summer, and that was through August. This year it's 1,866 through the 18th. So it's had a bump up, right? And then 347 in-person attendings for summer reading events, traffic, etc. And that's up from 229. So just, since we have, savings, we're not using them, we're not expending a lot of money, I think we ought to make sure we are getting the right equipment for our, workers out there. They see a need, they really want something, let's get it for them, make it easy for them.
We've been doing that, and I talked with Mac and those guys daily to see what they need, so. We've concentrated on that the last 3 years, and, most of them are saying we're getting to the point where we've got everything we need. So many vehicles on the operating side.
Good, awesome.
Any, sorry, on that note, is there any update on vehicles from?
I told Gordon if he doesn't get any more, any more technical file.
Yeah, actually, there is, so I spoke with the purchasing, agency, there is more progress on that. They're just trying to dot some of the T's across the i's because the title's working in Canada. That's what we're technically owned from. We'll get more legalities and, do donations across the border. I guess there's some extra stuff that has to happen, even though the vehicles are in Salt Lake City. So they are trying to get through. I've spoken actually with the fleet management out there. But if something that's not really bad that comes through, I want to know so I can go tell them to send to the side. And I'm watching that and daily as I go over there.
So, do you think it's like a done deal, it's just paperwork?
I think it's pretty conclusive, right now. It's them just doing the paperwork to make sure. I've heard anywhere from the donation might cost $1, so it might cost $10. $1 for a truck, so they don't mind me. They're just trying to make sure, it's all due to them, it's dealing with Canada, so. I apologize for taking so long, but it's not just trucks, it's across the board people. So, I do believe we will be able to have something, I'm hoping within the next month, that I can call you up and say, hey, you guys need to pick some stuff up, but I bug them at least twice a week, because I have other projects and just work that we're trying to take away. So, yeah, that's really what it's doing.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The last thing is Stansbury, I was not able to attend, but I think I had some pretty good volunteers, step up. And I just want to publicly thank Sheriff Shields and Stacy Smart for how much they had.
Today's on the street, but she was off. And you're doing this all day.
Yeah. That's all, thank you.
All I feel very similar, I was not able to be here either, but, know that a lot of effort and work went into that, so thank you. Also like to thank each one of you board members for your contributions. We all have individual ideas and thoughts, and I think that good base with different perspectives, and good discussion. So I just appreciate your willingness to serve. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Any Wayne, any vote?
Yeah.
John?
Yes.
Kyle?
Aye.
Aye.
Rock eye.
And what's the case?
I,
Motion passed.